Greetings and salutations, all my wonderful fellow educators. Thank you again for joining us today for the provider meeting. We're going to get started shortly, promptly at 1 o'clock. Just a few heads up. There are handouts that are available to be downloaded, all pertaining the information that we're going to cover today. Also, you will see on your screen an opportunity. We're going to be celebrating a little bit at the beginning of this call. It is that time again for Gift from Marion. So if you want to take a gander at that, and any support that's given is always appreciated. Thank you so much. But we'll get started here. And if you have any trouble with the handouts, just know that they will be provided with the provider newsletter as well. Okay. And again, we'll get started very soon. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. I probably should have asked this earlier. Can you guys hear me okay out there in the world of early educators? Thank you, Ms. Hernandez, for answering. Thank you. Beautiful. All right, it is officially 1 o'clock, folks. Welcome to our monthly provider meeting. And this is yours truly, Liliana Howard, your professional development manager and all around DJ for this meeting today, excuse me. And if you guys when we talk about celebrations, we are celebrating that through Give for Marion. We've had donations, like 140 donations of $8,040 that have been donated to us. And we are so grateful, so very grateful. If anybody else would like to add to that, we will definitely be grateful for that too. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna go ahead and whoop whoop. Let's hear it for our community support and get to the ELC partner updates. Let me see if there's any partners on the line that would like to speak. If you are a partner and you're on the line, please raise your hand so I can see you. Just taking a double look just to be sure. And then Elizabeth Yola, you should be an organizer.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I just want to make sure we're all good here. Okay, awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and get started on staff training day. Some of you may have gotten emails from me in regards to staff training day. And what that is in regards to is when you guys did your school readiness contract, because this is for school readiness providers only, when you did your school readiness contract, you had the option to pick 10 holidays and 1 staff training date. This is not a day for cleaning, this is purely training. And when you get the email from me, that's to let you know that, hey, if you want to get reimbursed for that staff training day, I need the documentation to be able to verify that. And I have a new staff member. Her name is Leanne Belcher, and she's going to be helping me with that verification process. And I'll be introducing her in the next provider meeting. You guys will get to hear from her. And she didn't know that yet, but she does now. At least I didn't put her on her. At least I didn't put it on her this one. I gave her some grace. She's got a month to get used to the idea. But you'll see here that when I send those emails out, when I send those emails out, yes, I see you on the webcam, Elizabeth.
I don't know how,
When you
but here
send
I
those
am.
emails out, they have the school readiness provider training instructions. They're also going to have the frequently asked questions, which these have been provided before. It was sent out with the school readiness plus information that you guys may recall. And if you are operating a 10-hour day, then your staff training day has to be a 5-hour training day. Anything over 10 hours, still 5-hour training day. But if you operate on 6 hours, then 50% of that would be a 3-hour staff training day. And these requirements have to be met in order for us to be able to verify and approve the reimbursement. And the trainings must be meaningful, and they must fall under the categories that are listed through the Florida Early Learning Developmental Standards and the Department of Children's and Families Training, or what's called the OEL SR 735, Florida Standards and Key Competencies. Now, I love you guys, and you know I love you. And that is why when I send you the packet, I also send you the, here we go, the Early Learning Professional Development Standards and Career Pathways Handbook, which has the competencies, which look at here, OEL SR 35. So as long as your training is meeting these standards that are through here, they'll count and they will be verifiable. Let me pause and see if there's any questions. I don't see any questions. I do want to make a clarification because this has been asked of me. We are not, I repeat, we are not reimbursing the cost of the training. So if you go and you buy training from Teachstone or Teaching Strategies or Frog Street, we're not reimbursing the cost of the training, we're reimbursing the cost of the day. And what I mean by that is it's per a school readiness child. So what you, just the same way that you get reimbursed for your holidays is how you're gonna get reimbursed for these staff training days, okay? So just making sure that that's clear. So you'll have the instructions, which has also the information about rescheduling the training day if that's needed. And you only get one time to reschedule within the fiscal year. Lily, why are you so mean? No, I'm not mean. There's like over 100 of you and there's only 2 of us verifying you. And then we have the reimbursement team. We want to make sure you get your money on time. So one time only, please. And yes, we will be keeping track. 75% of your school readiness childcare personnel must attend the meeting also for it to qualify and be verified for reimbursement. And we will be checking this one of 2 ways, through CARES and through your quality performance system roster, your staff roster. I know you've heard Mary talk about it, and now you're going to hear it from me. Your staff roster through the quality performance system is not only for not only for quality assessments, it's now also to verify your staff for reimbursement for staff training day as well. Okay, so keep those up, guys. Another reason to keep it up. All right, any questions? It doesn't look like we have any questions. There are deadlines for this to be turned in. You'll see here in red that the verification documentation must be submitted to the document library in your provider profile within 5 business days of the training date, unless the training is at the end of the month. Then it's the first business day of the following month. So let's say you have the training, you know, God forbid, September 31st for some reason. And I'm going to pretend that that's a work weekday. So if it's not a weekday, just for the sake of this conversation, guys, go with me on this journey. So let's say September 31st is a Friday, and that's when you're having your training. So you're expected to submit the documentation by October, that Monday, whatever that Monday is, which will probably be the 3rd. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. If we don't receive this documentation in time and I don't get an email from you letting us know that you've submitted this documentation, I can't look something up that I'm not aware of. And we need you to email it to training@elc-marion.org. That way my whole team sees it. But if I don't get this email, I can't verify it. And guess what? You don't get your money. And I want you to get your money, honey. So send me the documentation, all right? All right. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and check one last time to see if there's any questions. Thank you. It's noted that the first Monday of October is the 6th. Thank you. All right. Let me see. There's some questions here. I requested an amended for staff training day, and I was told I could, but was never granted one. November. Okay, we will reach back out to you and see what we can do for you. Thank you. That is a good point, and I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. As with the holidays, when they change, if you change your staff training day, that does require an amendment, a contract amendment. And as you guys know, that takes time. So be aware of that. And yes, this information is available in the handouts. If you have to document, if you have a school readiness contract, you do have to document all your child care personnel that those who are instructing children through the quality performance system, no matter how many you have. Yeah. Thank you. And let me see if there's any other questions. It looks like that's it. So let me double check. And then Miss Michaela and Elizabeth, Miss Michaela, it says you're self-muted, just so you know. You guys go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I know you saw me on webcam a few minutes ago. I just want to say thank you for everybody that has supported our efforts through Gift for Marion. We shared it with you at the last meeting. Budgets are tight, and you guys are experiencing it just as much as we are, if not more, as small businesses in our community. So every little bit helps, and we thank you for your support. There's still time, so that's my shameless plug. If you want to support us, the system will close at 7 p.m. tonight. That being said, let me move on to something else that I don't think, I haven't even gotten to talk to my team about this, but I have gotten a lot of feedback directly to me from providers recently asking for our provider meetings to be moved back to face-to-face. So those of you that have been along this journey with us for many, many years now, you might recall we used to do our provider meetings face-to-face before we got hit with a terrible plague called COVID. So we used to conduct our provider meetings on a certain day of the month. I believe they used to be Tuesdays. So we would do a provider meeting in the morning from 9 to 11, where it was not, we were packing the same amount of information, but we had a little more time to be together and network and really answer questions and dive in. And we were able to give you training hours for that, for your attendance. And then we would do the same, ELC staff would repeat the same agenda in the evening time for, typically it was for those that couldn't get away during the day, or for mostly our family childcare homes would come because, well, they're the only ones there with their children. So we were accommodating everybody from 6 to 8 p.m., same agenda, same information. So I would like to ask you your feedback, and I'm just going to ask you if you could just put it in the questions, if you would be interested in face-to-face meetings done in that same fashion. We would go back to providing training hours for attendance in meetings, because when you're physically here, we can see that you are engaged. What's really hard about online is I can actually see when we're not the thing that's on your screen first. Like I can see if we're in the background. The system actually tells us that if we're not the priority on your computer, which means, and it's human nature, no judgment, but we're all multitasking, which means our attention isn't fully focused on the information that we're trying to get. So we're trying to make meetings more impactful. So if you would participate and just give me your feedback by throwing it into the questions, whether in just a simple yes or no to face-to-face provider meetings would do. And I would tell you, we would not host them online. We would not, it's so difficult to simultaneously host it online. We would still record them so that we can put them up on YouTube if you weren't able to make it. The other second thing I want to ask you is I am pondering an idea of doing maybe a lunch and learn, like on a Friday afternoon, maybe Facebook Live, where we will pre-plan the topics, things that providers are expressing concern about, and we can all jump on a Facebook live stream, and I or one of our staff here would just host a Q&A and talk about that topic for 30-45 minutes, where you can ask anything. It's not an official anything, it's just a way to come together and network and answer questions. I would be very interested in knowing if that's something you might be interested in learning more about. So if that's something else, you can tell me Facebook Live in the questions, yes or no. Not something that would appeal to you. I'm just trying to get a feed or feel for whether or not this is something that you guys would be interested in. Okay, moving forward. Just like you, when we come out and monitor you in DCF and the food program, and everybody else comes out and monitors you, we also are monitored by the Division of Early Learning And we just went through ours. So our review, where we try to wrap up yours pretty quickly when we're out there visiting your site, our review started in April, on April 2nd of 2025. So what you see in front of you is, and this is all, I took everything that we're about to review from the draft report that DEL has given us. So just like we monitor you, we get monitored, and they cover everything that has to do with school readiness and VPK, everything that is covered in our contract. So we went through it. The time frame that we got monitored on was July 1st, 2023, all the way until May 31st of this year. So they look at everything in that time frame pertaining to school readiness and VPK. That's everything from family enrollment to everything that you all do and everything that we hold you accountable for and the things that we try to help you work through. So today I want to cover with you the findings, which first of all, I would like to pause and tell you guys, you're phenomenal. We got so much positive feedback from the Division of Early Learning because they had never seen such little findings. So we only have a few things to cover today. And they're really just reminders that we're going to just cover with you. And I want you to see exactly what they put in our monitoring report so that you can see how we are gauged on our performance here at the coalition and why we ask you to do some of the things that we ask you to do, which I know are tedious. They take away from your day. And it's not easy being a childcare provider. So first, let me acknowledge how amazing you are. These things that we're about to talk about are reminders, and you all have done an amazing job. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So this first page is the actual first introduction to our draft report. That's the one thing I want you to know. This is not final yet, so we are contesting some findings that they put in our report, and that's a way for us to say, wait, we can show you where we met that requirement. So we get the opportunity and to talk to them about some of the things that they find because they're looking at a lot. We were measured on 101 different items throughout this monitoring for the duration of those years that I told you about. So Lily, if you can scroll down to the next page, I'm going to turn it over to Michaela Powell to talk about this next portion.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to go over some of the findings that we received. This is in reference to the school readiness payment validation for attendance monitoring. The note on it says a coalition shall have well-defined procedures for attendance monitoring and provider payments. An SR provider must maintain daily attendance documentation, which at a minimum shall include a sign-in, sign-out process that a coalition approves to validate attendance data. A coalition must implement a records retention policy for maintaining all documentation according to subgrant and award provisions. There's a note when DEL determines that a finding is due to a provider error rather than a coalition error. DEL will document the finding in the work papers, but not include it in the final report. However, the coalition must require the provider to correct the finding or implement corrective actions if feasible. So the first finding that that was documented, the provider documented the child's daily attendance on a paper sign-in, sign-out form or electronic attendance tracking system according to rule. The finding, the name listed on the sign-in, sign-out sheet under the sign-in by or sign-out by does not match the signature for 5 days. The listed names are provider staff members. The recommendation is to submit an explanation for the provider sign-in, sign-out process. If necessary, conduct provider training. And this one, just for an example, this was an electronic sign-in, sign-out. The sign-in by populated the name. It was not the signature, it was just the regular populated name, and it was the parent's name. The signature portion listed the staff member. So that, and it was consecutive, it was for 5 days, so they gave us a finding for that. The second one, the certified attendance record matches the child's sign-in, sign-out sheets. The finding, the provider listed the child is present on the certified attendance record for 3 days that preceded the child's first date of attendance, and a non-reimbursable absence on a day the child had a note. In addition, the provider received reimbursement for 18 days, but was only eligible for 17. The recommendation is to conduct provider training regarding properly documenting attendance in the statewide information system. With this one, it's just once you receive the information as far as the child is being enrolled, you cannot document any absences until the child's first date of attendance, that they are actually attending your site. You cannot claim any absences prior to that child's first day. The third one, the provider maintained appropriate documentation to support excessive absences, added at-risk child absences according to rule. The finding, DEL did not receive supporting documentation for reimbursing the provider for 3 additional unexcused absences for the month. The documentation submitted for the 7 absences is an email the provider sent to the provider. The recommendation is to process a payment adjustment for the days in question, conduct provider training regarding correctly documenting excessive absences. So of course we know when you get those 3 absences, the additional documentation, we would review and approve the additional absences. The documentation that the provider submitted was not accepted, and we have to create an adjustment based on that and recoup that money back from the provider. Any questions?
That was going to be my next thing. Anybody have any questions about that?
I don't see, wait a minute.
Sorry, I
there's
know
a
I missed you.
question. Can you repeat 1 and 2? So let me go back.
1 and 2. So,
Here's
Michaela,
1.
do you want to take it or do you want me to cover it?
That's fine. I can do it.
Go for it. Yep.
The provider documented number 1, the provider documented the child's daily attendance on a paper sign-in, sign-out form or electronic attendance tracking system according to rule. The finding is the name listed on the sign-in, sign-out sheet under sign-in, sign-out by, does not match the signature for 5 days. The listed names are provider staff members.
And then
The recommendation is to submit an explanation for the provider sign-in, sign-out process, and if necessary, conduct provider training regarding the Rule 6M
That's kind of what we're doing now.
4.500.
Yeah.
And now I'm
Number
going to pull up number 2.
And
Give it
go
just
and
a
talking
minute. It looks
back-
like our website's lagging. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Number
So
2,
going-
the
yeah.
certified attendance record matches the child's sign-in, sign-out sheets. The finding, the provider listed the child as present on the certified attendance record for 3 days that preceded the child's first date of attendance, and a non-reimbursable absence on a day the child had a note. In addition, the provider received reimbursement for 18 days, but was only eligible for 17. The recommendation from DEL is to conduct provider training regarding properly documenting attendance in the statewide information system.
So let's go back real quick and talk about the first one. So when we're talking about these things, and we cover a lot of this, all of it in orientation in the beginning of the year, but these are good refreshers to have. So remember, when your staff are signing kids in and out, it can only be when the staff should only be signing them out and in when they're getting them to or from transportation. So like if you're picking up a kid from the bus, or you're putting a child on a bus and the parent or caregiver is not there to sign them in and out, that is the only time your staff really should be signing kids in and out. it is a liability for you as the provider if you have your staff signing parents in and out, especially when DEL looked at this. This is why I wanted you to see exactly what they say to us. So when they're looking for those trends of the did not match the signature for 5 days, that's a red flag to them. Like, what is going on? Why are staff signing them in and out for 5 days? And I'd have to go back. So if this is a finding, the particular provider that was pulled for this, and this is how DEL works, is they will send us a sample of random providers. We never know who is going to be looked at. So they pull a random sample of providers. And so if this particular finding has to do with your site, our staff are probably going to reach out to you and ask for, or we might have already, and ask, what is your process for signing in and out? When are your staff able to sign a child in and out? And we understand you're trying to make sure that you meet the requirements, but I also want to remind you it's a liability too for you. You want to make sure that parents, because if your staff signs somebody out or signs somebody in and somebody else's, that child's parent or guardian shows up and tries to either check them out or is wondering what's going on, but your staff are on the documentation, that's legal binding documentation that you can be held accountable for. So let me pause and see. Okay, it looks like we have a question that popped up.
What if the child is a family member of the staff?
They need to be on the application, and Michaela, feel free to correct me if I misspoke anything. They need to be on the approved pickup list for that child.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
Anything
so it
else?
looks like they are listed on the pickup list.
Okay. Well, in that case, then we would probably, if we're reaching out to ask you, and and you're that particular provider, and that is that situation, then we would be able. It's one of those things where we would be able to show DEL that even though the child's caregiver is employed by the provider, so it looks like a staff member signing the child in and out, that isn't approved on the child's enrollment application. That is an approved person to pick up. So we would be able to show that.
All right, looks like you guys are good for questions.
All right. So let's go on to scroll down. I'm going to cover starting on page 4 of this document. And this document is, you can download this so you can see all of the blue, well, on my screen they look teal blue, but I linked all the rules so you can access the rules if you need to, and the statutes that are pertaining to these. So on page 4, we were monitored on the VPK attendance monitoring. So this is where, for VPK providers, when you have to do your long and short forms, they really have to match your attendance document. So if you're the actual, and I'm summarizing because you can read this. If you want to see the actual language that they are looking at us for, I'm going to summarize what we're talking about today. So can you scroll down just a little bit?
Mm-hmm. A little bit further? How far down do you need me to go?
Keep going, keep going, keep going. Put that one at the top of your screen. There you go. Oh, too far. I think, wait, are we still on page 4? It looks real funny.
We're on
my
page
screen,
5.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, go back up to page 4 for me. I just need to get to the number 1 so we can talk about
Oh,
what
the number 1.
was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So the finding here was that the measurement is what's next to number 1. The certified attendance record matches the parent sign in out sheets or the long form. Because remember, if you are a VPK provider, you have the choice of using the long form or the short form with your parents. If you use the long form, you don't necessarily have to have a sign in and out sheet. If you use the short form, you do have to have a sign in and out sheet. This particular finding has to do with a provider that's chosen to use the long form. And so they do not have to have a sign in and out sheet. However, in your attendance that you submit on your profile, has to, the information that you submit has to match the parent's certification on the long form. So in this particular finding, the parent, it looks like the parent maybe didn't sign the long form. I'd have to go back and dig a little bit further into the actual finding here. But basically what happened is what the provider submitted as being in attendance for the child didn't match what the parent certified on the long form. So basically the provider did fix it and they submitted a revised long form that corrected the error. But we still got a finding for that. And now the coalition, so under recommendations, we have to do training. Here we are, to remind, just do a refresher of these things must match. So when you correct it though, we've got to make sure that the correction happens before you submit your documentation. So if you find the error, and sometimes you don't find it until after, or sometimes you find it because we called you and said, this doesn't match. So basically we're doing our training, and now what's going to happen from this one is our staff, our finance team and reimbursement team on the other side of our big building is going to research whether or not we have to change the reimbursement to this particular provider. And it may mean we have to either pull money back, or it may mean that we owe the provider some money. So these things, it's just important to try to find them as soon as you can, make sure those records match. And let me pause and see if we have any questions.
No questions at this time.
All right, thank you. We're almost done. You see, this isn't so bad, you guys. I'm really, really proud of everybody that's involved in the processes that what you're doing is showing. You're just glowing, and I love it. All right, page 5. So this has to do also in the VPK program. This talks about progress monitoring and coordinated screening. You can scroll down a little bit. I'm going to paraphrase everything. Our VPK providers are, unless you're brand new this year, in which case we will break you in very swiftly to the processes. We had, out of 91 active VPK providers, we had only 3 that were not able to complete their progress monitoring within their window. So Janet typically and her team, Mary and Cheyenne, really watch these windows for progress monitoring 1, 2, and 3. Now this process is relatively new, it's only a couple years old, and this year we were actually measured on it during this monitoring to make sure that providers were testing within their windows. Now this is really important because this progress monitoring is a huge part of your measurement for your accountability, and I'm not going to get it right.
Performance metric.
Thank you. I love when they read my mind. The performance metric, there's a huge portion of your score that comes from progress monitoring. And it's a huge benefit for you that shows that these children are making progress throughout the year through this testing. So we have to make sure that we're working together to remind you of your windows, because your monitoring windows have to occur within the first 30 instructional days of the VPK class. And PM2 happens in the middle of your year, and we have dates for that. And then PM3 happens during the last 30 days of your VPK program. Anybody jump in if I'm misstating anything. I'm going completely off memory right now. So
You're
it's
good.
really, thank you. It's really, really important that you all keep track of your windows and go ahead and test those kids. Don't wait. Go ahead and get those kids tested. So one of the things that we're doing for the 3, and we do know there are some issues with Renaissance. We have made it very clear to the state the challenges that we've seen with it. Does that mean it'll get resolved? Maybe, maybe not. So we will work within the parameters of what we have access to, which is we can, and we'll be sending you the reminders. Janet is really good about that, sending you the reminders of when your windows are, the open and the close of your window. And then of all 3 of your windows. And then we're also going to be tracking it. We have a new procedure that Janet has written based on this finding right here to make sure we don't repeat this again. because we know it is not done out of malice. Things happen, but we got to do everything we can to correct the issues once we find them or are made aware of them. So we are going to show DEL where we have notified you all of any missing or late assessments, and our new procedure. Once it comes out, we can share it with you. It is, you can access it anytime if you want to see what our procedures are for things, and we'll share once it's finalized. Then we have, and that's the second recommendation here, of develop and submit a procedure and a tracking tool. So we're going to be tracking this a little more closely this year. We're going to be sending you all multiple reminders throughout your testing windows to make sure that you are completing them. So I'm just going to ask for your grace with this, because we track a lot of due dates. And we start tracking them usually 3 months out. When it comes to like your insurance and your licensing, we know you're not necessarily going to have it until it's closer to the due date. We want to make sure it's in the forefront of your mind, because the last thing we want is the conversation that we have had with some providers in the past of, I'm sorry, you're not going to get paid for these days because you're out of compliance. And then it keeps going. And then we end up having to cut a contract. And that is the last thing we want to do. It does not help our families that we serve to do that. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help us. So we are a team, and I'm sorry if we're annoying with our reminders, but please just take them as that. They're just reminders. They're not us coming down on you. They're not us, trying to annoy you. They're not trying, that's not us trying to fill your inbox. We just want to make sure that those things that keep your business running functionally, especially around the parameters, we want to try to keep those things in the forefront so that they don't get lost in the shuffle, because there's a lot going on. And then we also are required to conduct provider training. Dun, da, 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 provider training, here we are. So let me pause and see. That is the last finding that we had for our providers. So again, super, super proud of you all. Very minimal, and DEL was very complimentary of you all and the performance of how you're serving the families here in Marion County and children. So it's very apparent that the kids are first priority.
All right, I don't see any questions.
Okay, well, thank you for allowing Michaela and I to take up a bulk of our meeting today. And if you do have any questions, and you'll hear more from us. Thank you.
All right. And Melissa, I am seeing that you're self-muted, so.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Let's rock on for Miss Melissa Masonette.
Okay, here we go with the reminders for VPK and SR program assessments. I just wanted to add to what Lily said about QPS. QPS is important for her for when it's time, you know that you need to submit your monthly roster every month. So it is important for Liliana, so that way she can keep track of those teachers. And it's important for us in the program assessment also, because that way we know the classrooms that we're going to need to be observing, and we have an idea before I send you the submit registration. So just keep that in mind, that if you don't submit your monthly roster, it's going to impact not just one department, it will impact more than one. So then, still talking about QPS, remember, when your QPS is in pending composite score, you don't need to submit your monthly roster. That's the only time that you don't need to submit it, because while you are in pending composite score, you are not allowed to make changes in your QPS. Why? Because when you make changes in QPS transfer information to WELS, that is the system that we have internally that choose and select the classrooms that's going to be observed. So if you make any changes, that's why every time you guys made a change, I get a notification if you're an pending composite score, because it will make the system do a reselection of classrooms, and that even can change all the information that we already gather to be able to schedule your observation. So please, 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 when you're an pending composite score, do not make any changes. If it's something that is very, very, very your teacher left So that's something that you need to contact me first before you do any changes. So that way I can guide you of how to make the changes without impacting your observation. Okay. Now I'm gonna talk about the blackout dates. I send the blackout dates I send the 2 weeks window, and you need to select 3 blackout dates. Please make sure that you are submitting those 3 blackout dates before your window begins. If you win, for example, your window is beginning next Monday, the 22nd is this Monday, and your window is starting the 22nd, don't you send the blackout days over the weekend, neither on Friday, because by that time we already scheduled when we're gonna go, and it's very difficult when I have around 295 or more observations to be scheduling. So um so please try to submit all those 3 blackout dates before your window begins. We have been asking all the providers to please share with us by emailing. When you send me your blackout dates, please email me the classrooms schedules. Those classroom schedules are gonna help us to plan wisely how with the timings that we're gonna arrive to your school, and have an idea of how it's gonna be when we are over there, how your day is gonna be going. So that way we have an idea on everything. I see here that there's a question how we can change a name of a classroom. We cannot, QPS is not going to let you change names of classrooms. You need to inactivate that classrooms and then open another one. Why? I don't know. Because that happened. I tried with other providers, but the only way you can make a change of name is inactivating that one and then activating the other one. If you need any help doing that, just email me and I can call you and I can guide you through it, okay? Let me see what else I had. And that's mostly that I have for today. Just, VPK providers we started observing them, and they're doing pretty good. So just keep doing your good job, okay? Have a wonderful day. Lily, I'm done. Lily, we cannot hear you if you are,
Lily, we
I
can't
think
hear
you're
you.
self-muted. There you go. I heard someone.
Okay, can you hear me
There
now?
you go.
We
Yes,
can
I
hear
am.
you now.
All right. It's so nice to be heard.
And I
Um,
can hear Janet also.
so just so you know, Miss Melissa, they appreciate it. They said 10-4, so they got it. Dear, thank you
Okay,
for answering the question.
no problem.
All right, and so now next on our agenda is Miss Janet Honor, and I'm going to pull up Miss Janet Honor's notes.
Thank you, Lily. Hello,
Mm,
everyone. So I'm going to touch on what Elizabeth was speaking about earlier in regards to VPK progress monitoring. Um, so with progress monitoring, we have Rule 6M-8.620. That is attached in your handouts for you to go back and review later. But for the sake of time, I'm going to go through this as quickly as possible. We know that PM1, like Elizabeth said, the first 30 instructional days. PM2 is the midpoint of your program, and PM3 is the last 30 instructional days. Also, with the progress monitoring, it is important that after each and every assessment that is provided to the children, you provide that parent with the STAR parent report. That is within 7 days. So not 7 days after the entire class has completed the assessment, 7 days after each individual student. I just want to give you guys a quick tip. Majority of the providers have 2 or 3 tablets. You can test the children in a small group setting up to 5 students at a time. You have 11 students. You can go ahead, take your tablets, test 3 to 4 kids at a time over the course of 3 to 5 days. And then that will knock out the completion of your progress monitoring for that window. Also, I want to point out that you have to test within your window. If a provider test is outside their window, you are going to be considered in non-compliance. Providers are required to administer progress monitoring assessments to their students within the designated PM window. Providers who test students outside of this time frame will receive a non-compliance notice. In addition to that, you are going to risk having a status of probation or technical assistance status when it comes to the performance metric. And that's because when the students are tested outside of the testing window, let's say before your PM window starts or after your PM window starts with PM 1 and 2, that data is not counted for. So there can't, the state can't measure any growth, okay? When it comes to PM3, if you don't test the students, of course, you don't have any time to go back and test those students if your PM3 window has ended, meaning your program is closed. So I just wanted to remind you guys of that. Are there any questions? I'm going to stop and pause for questions related to PM windows and progress monitoring.
There are no questions, Janet, but I just want to add that for those of you who have small programs, it is extremely detrimental when you're missing that data. That is one of the few things that have put some of our providers on probation or incomplete status, is they didn't have enough data to go towards their performance metric. So please, please, please do it during the time that the window's open.
Yes, and thank you, Lily. Lily and I work very closely with each other. Lily handles the professional development side in regards to the performance metric. And of course, I'm tracking you guys completing your progress monitoring on time. I also wanted to share with you that it is important to make sure that you test during VPK instructional hours. You are not allowed to test after VPK has ended. It has to be within the instructional hours. That's not in my notes. However, I did say it and it is recorded. And now I want to move on to progress monitoring dates. Your dates have started to be sent out to you guys. This year, you're going to see a lot of emails coming from Mary Brewster in regards to your VPK progress monitoring. We're emailing you your dates for all 3 periods, okay? So you're going to get that email. We're also going to email you with follow-up reminders. So if we see that there are some students that have not tested at all, or there are some students that have tested outside of that window, we're going to follow up with you. We're going to provide TA with you, and you may end up receiving a non-compliance based on when the test was given to the children, okay? As Elizabeth said, Renaissance, 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 Renaissance. Y'all say it with me while y'all at home and in your classrooms. Renaissance, Renaissance, Renaissance. There are so many,
Renaissance.
thank you. There are so many issues with Renaissance right now, and we're here to help you. If you have issues logging into the classroom, into your classroom on the Renaissance system, please give me a call or email. If you can't reach me by phone, email me or email Quality. Someone will get the message to me and we will assist you. I've already assisted several providers with resetting your password and helping you to access Renaissance to test your students. Now see, I don't know how I did that, y'all, but it says qualitya@ELC, but y'all know the email. Okay, and then we have the information for Renaissance for you too. I also provided you with some additional support. Lily, can you scroll down for me? Scroll down past the VPK app for me. Yep, start right there. Additional VPK FAST tips. Okay, so here are some tips for you. A parent cannot tell you that they want to opt out of program assessment, not program assessment, progress monitoring. When they enroll their children up for BPK, they are acknowledging that their child is going to participate in the coordinated screenings and progress monitoring. And then the additional tips are also for failed practice or non-participation status. Okay, so you guys make sure you save these notes. That if there's how-to information there for you as well. Scroll back up for me, Lily, and then I'll be done. And if I'm going too fast, you guys can stop me. My progress monitoring. Stop at the submitting VPK. Okay. So I want to talk to you guys about submitting your VPK applications. Please note that any VPK applications that is in anything other than certified status, you will not be able to submit your attendance. You will not be able to even see the students enrolled in your classroom at all as well. We are finding that many providers are updating their VPK applications right within the beginning of the month when it's time to submit their attendance. And we get a lot of pressure asking us, can you please just certify my VPK app so I can submit my attendance, and then I'll go back and make the necessary corrections. And in doing so, we have many providers that do not follow up with us and submit the corrections. Therefore, we are moving forward with letting you know if you submit your VPK application within the first 3 days of the month during that attendance processing, you're going to be at risk for having to submit your attendance late, and you will be reimbursed during the next billing cycle. So if you know that you have to change your calendar, change your teacher, or make any changes to any documentations with background screenings, transcripts, let us know in advance, not during the first 3 days of the month, because we cannot rush it. And as Elizabeth said, we get monitored too. And sometimes when we rush, discrepancies happen during our monitorings and during your monitorings. Okay. I know that was a lot. Lily, is there any questions? And that'll be it for me after I answer any questions.
I do have a question here. My progress monitoring dates end on 9/22/25. Can I do a test in the beginning of October without it counting?
Absolutely. You want to make sure that you test on or before 9/22. And then, like you said, you can do a test in October. That data is not going to count. That data is for you to see where the students are, how much the students have grown. If you go back to last month's provider meeting, I provided some resources and reports that you can pull, like the instructional planning report for the students and the class report as well. And then you can see areas that the children need to grow in. Ms. Taffin, I will send you an email personally with some resources for you and help you out with that. And if anyone else needs it, just please send an email to quality and I'll make sure that I get that to you guys as well. Okay.
Great.
All right.
That was her response, by the way.
Okay. Okay.
All right. And it looks like there's no other questions. So we are going to move on to Miss Mary Brewster.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for taking the time to join us today. I want to cover temporary closures. No hurricanes, yay! But in other events, should anything happen at your individual site, such as broken water pipes, plumbing went out in the restrooms, a tree fell on your roof, anything like that can be counted as temporary closure. You'll want to take pictures of the damage and keep documentation from a plumber, electrician, or whoever comes out to assess your damages. You want to use that as backup documentation to upload when you enter your temporary closures. Please remember, temporary closures are entered on the other screen and they are not put on your calendars. Okay, we have included a handy dandy provider checklist. This is your monthly checklist of things that you need to complete. One of the things that is missing from this list that you may want to write down and add it to your copy when you print it is during this time of the month, right now, when we have provider meetings between this whole week, it's very highly encouraged that you go to your parent sign-in and out sheets and look at your monthly calendar to see if you have any closure date marked on those sign-in and out sheets. And then please go check your profile closure calendars. And if you are a VPK provider and have a VPK calendar, you want to make sure that that closure is marked on your calendars in the system. And you can always reach me at extension 236 or Cheyenne at extension 201 if you need assistance getting that onto your calendars before you do your attendance. Okay, that's what we need. We need it done before you even attempt to do your attendances. Any questions?
I don't see any questions, but I just want to let you guys know that this specific handout is uploaded all by itself because it's so incredibly important. As you can see, it even tells you where to go to perform the activities, just beautifully put together. So it's all by itself, should be easy to download. If not, it will be on the provider newsletter.
Okay,
And let me
thank you.
double check. Doesn't look like we have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Everybody have a good afternoon.
All right, and with that, we are next in line is Miss Cheyenne Fort. We're going to end the day out with a bang. Let's go, Miss Cheyenne.
Hi, good afternoon, lovely people. Some of you are already familiar with my voice, but for those that are not, to reintroduce myself, I am Cheyenne Fort, one of your client service counselors in provider relations, alongside Mary Brewster and Janet Honor. Today, we will be going over the Attestation of Good Moral Character form, also known as the AGMC form. As we take a look at this form, you will notice a few areas where I have filled out in red, outlining what we are looking for in each of these blank areas. Please note, all of this information is required to complete this form. Without this information being filled out accurately and completely, we must reject any discrepancies found on this form, as it is a legal binding document. To list a few examples, these discrepancies could be anything as small as a missing letter in your site name, a nickname printed instead of your legal name, or an illegible signature signed. Additionally, Lily, if you could scroll down, I'll give you a moment. To the second page, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you. If we look at this page, it's important to note as a key tip, down to the bottom, at the witness signature, Lily. So see where it says signature witness whereof employee has attested to good moral character, signature of owner or director. It's important to note that you are never to sign as a witness to your own form. To put simply, if you print your name on page 1, you may not sign as a witness on page 2, even if you are the director or owner. In the event that you are the director or owner completing this form, you will have to have one of your staff to sign this form as your witness in your place. Now, I know this is a lot of information on this form, and I'm just going to take a moment to go ahead and pause and open the floor to any potential questions. Lily, do you see any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay, perfect. So seeing as there are no questions at this time, we're going to go ahead and move on, and I'll open the floor to Ms. Janet Honor. If you have any additional questions later, please go ahead and email quality@elc-marion.org. And I hope you all have a lovely day.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Lily, can you go back up? I want to just touch on the form as well and support Cheyenne. Okay, so in the event that a provider does sign that second line where they have a disqualifying act or an offense, they must provide us with an exemption for that disqualifying offense. They have to attach that with the letter of, I was going to say good moral character, but it is good moral character. Okay, so with the attestation. So you have to attach that. If you have a staff that has a qualifying offense and they sign it and we don't have that exemption, we are going to reject your VPK app, and we are going to let you know that that instructor, whether it be lead teacher, aide, or sub, is not qualified to teach in the classroom that you have listed them in. So just look out for that, okay? If you know that they signed that bottom signature by mistake, let us know and just correct it. Just send us a new one, and you can always delete the old form or the incorrect form. Okay, so we'll be reaching out to you if we see any discrepancies on this form. Any questions?
I don't see any questions at this time.
Okay, I think we did very good. It's 2:02. And we did awesome.
Thank you guys for your extra 2 minutes, and thank you for hanging in there. And again, if you want to chime in on face-to-face provider meetings, thank you. I captured everybody who did answer, and Facebook Live, Lunch and Learns, which is a less formal way of just answering questions. You can shoot me an email or just shoot me an email, ediola@elc-marion.org. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you guys saw where I highlighted. So if just before I leave the webinar, anybody who's still on here, please note that you want to make sure you have the correct version. That's July 2024. Say that with me, July 2024, for your attestation of good moral character. If you don't have access to this form, feel free to email quality@elc-marion.org and we can hook you up. Thank you again, everyone. Have a good one.